What you trying to do? You watching me stream? Heard this beat drop? Guess I got a new theme. Reactions on the channel. You trying to see gaming? They call me J Jackson, but I ain't even famous. Now watching JC is kind of sorry. Only the best from Jose Calamari.
What's up, y'all? I'm JC, and you're watching Jose Calamari. Welcome back to another video on the channel, bro. We have Chilling Scares with 28 minutes of purely horrific information. My boy JJ hit me up with this, bro. You know what I'm saying? I let him know. I'm like, y'all gotta follow me on Discord. This is why we on Discord. We can have conversations every day. You can talk to me, message me like it's my actual text cell phone number. You need to get on Discord. You're not on Discord, bro. Just make a quick Discord. You know what I'm saying? You have an email, you can make a quick Discord account. You can also message me on TikTok, Jose Calamari, bro, if y'all on there too. It's so easy to DM me, bro. We can have a conversation anytime of the day. I'll be checking my information. I don't have thousands of followers, so trust me, I will get back to your DM quick, bro. You know what I'm saying? But he hit me up, let me know, bro. This video, he watched it. He like felt uncomfortable, and he wanted to see what my reaction was to this. So, with the title, almost 30 minutes, bro, of just crazy information that I probably don't want to know about. Am I drunk enough to react to this? No, I'm not. But this one's for you, JJ, man. Just looking already off rip, it says, title screen says roller coaster decapitation. That sounds insane. I don't want to know about that, but I guess we're gonna be hearing all that type of shit in this video today. Let's jump into this thing.
Roller coaster decapitation. Six Flags is an amusement park company that operates many theme and water parks around the U.S. Georgia is home to one of these locations and receives millions of visitors each year. What many of these visitors don't realize, however, is that one of the rides has led to two different people losing their lives in the most brutal way possible. The more notable of these incidents happened on the 28th of June 2008. The day started off completely normal, but that changed at 1:50 p.m. when park authorities discovered the remains of a young man under the Batman-themed ride. These remains belonged to 17-year-old Isaiah Ferguson. He was visiting the park with his family and a group from his local church. According to witnesses, Isaiah and another boy ignored the many danger signs under the coaster and entered the restricted zone by scaling the two 6-foot-high fences surrounding it. It's possible they thought they'd be safe as long as they were under the rails and not climbing on anything, which would have been the case for most normal coasters. Unfortunately for them, the Batman-themed ride featured an inverted design, where the seats were suspended beneath the track rather than mounted on a car above it. The ride was also running at the time, and it did not end well for Isaiah. I saw a man run from the building towards the fence. He jumped the fence and ran under the ride. He was hit by the ride or a person on the ride and fell forward. He didn't get up. You heard a big pop and he just laid there. The ride was going at over 50 miles per hour, or roughly 80 kilometers per hour, when the leg of one of the passengers made contact with Isaiah's head, decapitating him instantly. The rider somehow was fortunately unharmed. As it turned out, this was not the first incident involving the Batman ride. 6 years earlier, on May 26, 2002.
I do remember that. But the crazy part is, you should shut that ride down. And it's not the park's fault for the kids to go and do that. It's the parents' fault. Whoever the parents or the guardian was supposed to be watching those kids, you should have been watching them. They should never jumped over it. It said the railing was there and it was saying do not skate. Like literally rules are in place for a reason. It's not good what happened to those kids, but he was 17 years old, bro. He wasn't like an 8-year-old kid running away, 5-year-old kid running out of supervision. He was 17 years old, 1 year from being a grown-ass adult. The fact that you jumped over that ride and you thought that shit was going to be a cool moment, you go tell your friends, bro, just imagine the nightmares the person who was riding in the thing felt when they were coming down the roller coaster at 50 miles per hour. And their feet just hit your head and your fucking shit came clean off your body, bro. The dude said who watched it said he saw somebody ran over there and the body fell forward. Though it was so much force that the head came clean off, went this way, the body just went straight down to the ground. Like, just imagine the nightmares somebody's feeling. Like, just imagine every time if it was me, every time I look at my foot, I would be thinking about the time I was on the Six Flags ride. How my foot just took somebody's head clean off their body instantly. It's not even my fault. So it's like, y'all gotta watch out children, bro. And him being 17 years old, he should have known better. He should have known better, you know what I'm saying? He's close to adult, even though the situation shouldn't happen. And it's not good that he died or nothing like that. I'm not trying to say. Not, it's an unfortunate situation, but let's take responsibility, guys.
A 58-year-old park employee lost his life in the exact same way when he was struck by the leg of a 14-year-old girl.
Damn.
Again, the rider was able to recover without any permanent injuries.
I'm saying
a later
I'm not
investigation also
be
cleared the
58
park
years
of
old
any
working on
negligence.
park rides,
Inspectors
or
found
riding
plenty of
nothing.
warnings and
I'm
physical
32 and
barriers
I'm not
in
riding
place
on
to
amusement
prevent
park
anyone from
rides.
simply
I've been to
wandering
State
into
Fair
the
in
danger
years.
zone. As for why Isaiah chose to ignore those warnings and climb the fence, that
Maybe he
remains
thought it was gonna be
unclear
fun.
to this day.
He thought it was
Police
gonna be
received
fun.
some conflicting reports, with some claiming that he was trying to retrieve a hat he had lost on the ride earlier, while others said he was attempting to touch the coaster or grab a rider's foot as a dare. But none of these reports were ever confirmed. And since the park wasn't found guilty of any wrongdoing, the Batman ride was allowed to reopen just a few days after the incident, and it's still operational to this day. Though now with a lot more warning signs and
exactly, you
barbed
should
wire
have
over
a lot
fences
more
to
warning
prevent any
signs, and if
more
you decide to
similar
crawl over
tragedies.
them, that's your body. Just have multiple fences.
Murder of
Have it
Oki
blocked up.
Al-Qaid. On May 24, 2004, employees at an engineering consulting firm in Denver, Colorado noticed that the project manager, 53-year-old Oki Al-Qaid, was absent. This was completely out of character for Al, as he rarely ever took a day off. Even when he did, he made sure to inform his colleagues beforehand to avoid any issues. So people from the office tried calling him on the phone, but despite multiple attempts, Al didn't answer. Worried for his safety, people at the office contacted his emergency contact, which belonged to his sister. Unfortunately, the sister lived too far away to check on Al herself, so she dialed 911 and requested a welfare check instead, desperately hoping that her brother was okay. She knew something was wrong, since it wasn't like her brother to ghost everyone out of nowhere. But nothing could have prepared her for the gruesome fate Al had met in his own home just days earlier. When officers arrived at the house in Aurora, Colorado, they discovered that it was spotless, almost as if someone had recently given it a thorough cleaning. But there were no signs of Al himself. That is, until they went down to the basement and discovered one of the most horrific sights ever documented. The basement contained the bloody remains of Oki Al-Qaid, with numerous, nightmarish injuries. Later reports confirmed that he had over 20 stab wounds across his body.
Golly.
This was only the very beginning. According to the investigation, Al had likely been brutally tortured by the killer leading up to his death. The details of the crime scene were so horrific that they were never fully released to the public.
Oh, they must have
Whoever
hated
did this
him.
to Al spent hours upon hours inflicting pain
Oh
before
my
taking
God,
his life.
hours?
This alone was enough to make it one of the most disturbing cases
Oh, it must
in
have been
Aurora's
personal.
history. But the deeper investigators looked into it, the more unsettling it became. And at the center of it all was a mysterious man named Robert Cooper. His name first came up when talking to Al's girlfriend Linda, who was out of state at the time. She revealed that Al had told her about renting out his basement to a guy named Robert Cooper. She had actually seen the guy a few days earlier when Al was giving him a tour of the place. But as soon as Robert saw Linda, he left without even looking at her. He was likely trying to avoid leaving any witnesses. Fortunately, Linda was able to see enough of his face to help detectives put together a crude sketch. She also revealed that he had a cane and was walking with a limp. A quick search
That's
of Al's
terrible.
home revealed a document in his kitchen dustbin with all of Robert's information on it. But as it turned out, all of this was completely fake. Another factor that complicated the case was the sheer lack of a motive. Investigators initially assumed that it was a robbery gone wrong since Al's truck, phone, and wallet were missing. However, the truck was found just a couple of blocks from his home the very next day. And while the suspect did use Al's bank card, he only withdrew $1,000, far below the amount of money Al had in his account. Pictures from the ATM camera showed him wearing a ski mask and gloves to completely hide his identity. Robert had also given $750 in cash to Al just a day earlier for a security deposit and first month's rent. So, committing such a horrific crime for the difference of $250 didn't make much sense.
Bro. Y'all niggas be tripping. I never understand how people be like, yeah, let me just get a person in here, bro. Random. It's a roommate. You don't know who this person is. If I'm living with someone, I need to know this person. This needs to be a family member. You know what I mean? A close family member. It isn't even like family members that I know. It's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while, bro. You be doing this and that. I don't want you. I'm saying, I don't know what you involved in. Like, y'all niggas legit think it's cool to get a random person off of a random Facebook post or something like that. Be like, hey, I'm renting out my basement. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Here's a post of Craigslist. Coming down and take my twin bedroom. Like, bro, you're living in the house with these niggas. It's not like you're renting to them in a separate house. No, you're going to live in the same house as a random person. And That goes all the way back to college. Like, I never went to college. But think of me sharing a dorm with a random person. That shit not it. You know, saying weirdo stories of people waking up watching you sleep and shit. This is a random person. You just, hey, come into my doors, bro. Like, and then look what happened, bro.
Investigators later concluded that withdrawing this money was likely his way of taunting the police by leaving clues that he knew would ultimately do nothing for the police. By this point, it was clear that investigators were dealing with a highly prepared killer who had taken every precaution to conceal his identity. Even when officers tracked down the phone he used to contact Al, it turned out to be a burner phone. Not only that, but Robert had bought it with cash from a local convenience store and waited 30 days to activate it, knowing that most stores erased old CCTV footage after a month. Analysis of his phone revealed that he also contacted several other landlords before Al. He likely went after Al because he knew Al lived alone. However, talking to those other landlords complicated things further, since many of them described characteristics that were the complete opposite of Linda's account, like many claiming that he didn't have a cane and walked normally. Some also claimed that he was much younger than Linda had described. At the end of the day, investigators weren't able to find a single solid lead or motive pointing to Robert Cooper's real identity.
What?
They even found a drop of blood on the basement stairs, but the DNA sample didn't match any existing records, leaving the question of why Al Kite was targeted and killed in such a horrific way.
He really got away with it?
Mystery to
I
this
know
day.
you're lying. He got away with it?
Human meat killer. On
What the
December
fuck?
15, 1996, a man in Baltimore, Maryland walked into the local police station with a grim confession. According to this man, one of his friends had asked him to help dispose of a woman's remains. And while this sounded a bit absurd at first, officers decided to accompany him to the location. And to their surprise, the man wasn't lying. Deep inside a wooden pallet factory, police discovered the remains of 23-year-old Kimberly Lynn Spicer, who had been missing since November of that year. There was still a possibility that the man who went to the police was trying to frame his friend for a crime he committed. However, any doubt officers had in him vanished as soon as he named his friend, 41-year-old Joe Matheny. Those who knew Joe personally described him as kind and compassionate, but to the police, he couldn't have been more different. You see, Joe was actually a
That's a crazy picture. This is 1960 something. That's a crazy picture to be taken. My question is, would y'all help a friend hide a body? If that's your homie, no, just make it closer. If that's your brother, that's your sister, you say, hey, I just committed something. I need you to help me hide the body. Or y'all going through and hiding the body? You're like, yeah, I'm going down with them. That's my blood. That's my family. That's my friend. They want me to hide the body. I need to help them out. Yeah, the situation. Yeah, they told me it was self-defense, blah, blah, blah. I need to hide the body. Are you helping them? Me personally, y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Me personally, nah, fam, I'm not getting involved. You're not going to have me in jail for years for accessory to a crime that I didn't commit because you want to do some stupid shit. You want to kill somebody, you going to jail on that shit. If it's an accident, self-defense, we can call the police and they can get to the bottom of it, and then the court can free you of all crime and whatever the case may be. We is not hiding any bodies nowhere, and I'm not accessory to none of that shit, bro. I'm not going to jail for nobody.
Arrested back in August 1995 for allegedly taking the lives of 2 homeless men. However, the case was thrown out in July 1996 due to insufficient evidence. More importantly, the police were already investigating Joe for an incident that had occurred just a week earlier on December 8. That night, a woman named Rita Kemper accused him of kidnapping and attempted murder, allegedly threatening her by saying, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls."
Oh yeah, he gotta go to jail though.
The police had every reason to suspect that Joe was responsible for Kimberly's death as well. They arrested him the same day and charged him with murder. But Joe's crimes would turn out to be far more horrific. While in custody, Joe confessed to taking the lives of more than 10 victims, including the 2 homeless men he was charged with earlier. He also showed zero remorse, stating that he killed because he, quote, enjoyed it. Further adding, "I got a rush out of it. I got a high out of it.
Oh, you like
Call
it?
it what you want. I had no real excuse why, other than I like to do it."
Like, that's
said,
crazy.
When
You need to
investigators
be
were
behind
searching for
bars.
the remains of these victims, most of them were missing from where Joe claimed they were. And while this was never confirmed in court, there was an extremely horrific explanation for those missing remains. Put simply, while behind bars, Joe confessed to processing his victims' remains and feeding them to ordinary people back when he was operating a grilled meat stand. He wrote, "The human body tastes very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference. So, the next time you're riding down the road and you happen to see an open pit beef stand that you've never seen before, make sure you think about this story before you take a bite of that sandwich.
Oh no, you sick bastard. This nigga's sick. Oh, put him in jail for life. If not that, like death, execution, what's it called? Death penalty, whatever it's called. Take him out. That dude, that's nasty. Who's thinking about putting human body meat inside actual? This nigga want to be Sweet and Todd, the barbershop killer, so bad. I forgot that movie, Sweet and Todd, with Johnny
He stood
Depp.
trial multiple times in 1997 and 1998 and was initially given the death penalty. But this decision was later overturned and he was resentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the
Yeah, he's
possibility
gonna die in
of
prison.
parole. He remained in prison until his death on August 5th, 2017.
He don't care, bro.
Hard
An individual like that, he doesn't even care. Like, this nigga is like, these are things I want to do in life, and if you let me free, I'm going to continue to do them. That's crazy to me. That an individual mind could be that fucked up, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's crazy.
attack caught on camera. Alain Bruno started on YouTube with random vlogs, skits, and lifestyle videos back in 2012. These videos didn't gain much attention, but he kept posting semi-regularly for the next couple of years, unaware that one day he would record the worst incident of his life on camera. It happened somewhere near the end of May 2015. Alain was recording another one of his videos.
In a
and
shower?
Suddenly, he started feeling an uncomfortable pain around his chest and shoulders. What Alain didn't know at the time was that he was having a heart attack, and it was getting worse as time went on.
It can happen like that? You can have a heart attack like that? You don't even know it's happening? I just spilled my drink all over my fucking arm and clothes. Sir, you're having a heart attack? Bro, that'd be scaring me, bro. Cause just imagine you just thinking like you're having back pains and you just
Soon he
would
was
have a heart
struggling
attack.
to breathe and was constantly rubbing his chest and shoulders to
Why are
alleviate
you filming
pain.
yourself in the
But none of it was
bathtub, sir?
working. The pain
a
kept
real
getting
question.
worse and worse, resulting in him nearly passing out and drowning in his bathtub at one
He has a
point.
laptop. He's not stopping filming? So you're not stopping filming? Sir, that's the time to stop filming and call 911. Sir, it's time to stop. It's time to call 911.
He eventually summoned enough strength to get out of the tub, only to nearly pass out on the bathroom floor seconds later. What made this situation even worse was that he was completely alone in the house. Left
Oh, I
alone,
thought
he
he
would
was-
have more than likely passed away before anyone noticed. But in what was nothing short of a miracle, his roommate came home early that day and immediately called 911.
Thank
Alain was
you.
rushed to the hospital where he managed to survive and is still posting videos to this day.
Oh, that's
However,
great.
while Alain was able to recover after experiencing a heart attack, nearly 20 million people lose this battle every year. And therein lies
Damn.
the true horror of heart attacks. One
Oh my
minute you're
God.
living your life, maybe filming a video or laughing at a joke, and the next,
Bro,
your
just
heart
be aware,
stalls.
bro. Heart
You feel
attack can
this
happen any
heavy,
time, bro. That's
crushing weight
scaring
in your
me, bro.
chest, pressing your lungs, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to get it off. It's the result of your heart muscle literally suffocating because it's being starved of oxygen-rich blood. As the minutes
My
tick
God.
by, the sensation radiates through the rest of your upper body.
Y'all, if y'all
Your
ever
lungs
feel that,
heavy,
just hit
no matter
911,
how
bro.
deep you gasp,
Hopefully
the
they
air
get to you
feels
before
thin and
the worst
useless.
happen, man.
But the pain isn't even the worst part. It's the sheer dread and the impending sense of doom that survivors often describe as the most terrifying part of their experience. Your brain knows you are about to die before your heart even stops. And
My
unlike
God.
many other deadly conditions that you can predict or counteract,
It's like
a heart
when that's
attack can
happening,
happen at any
be like,
time,
call
often without
911, call
warning,
911,
even in
bro,
people
just-
who are otherwise healthy. And
You know
while
what I'm saying?
modern
'Cause you
medicine
never
is
know.
quite
You feeling
effective at
something?
reducing the lethality
Like,
of heart
you know it's not
attacks,
normal,
there's never
y'all
a full
just
guarantee
please,
treatment
bro.
will arrive in time.
Better a false alarm than death, bro. You know what I mean?
Killer nurse. In early 2003, the staff at the Somerset Medical Center in Somerville, New Jersey noticed a few abnormalities with a couple of their patients, like a Catholic priest named Florian Gall who passed away completely out of nowhere. And when tested, staff found toxic levels of digoxin in his system, even though digoxin was never prescribed to him. Around the same time, another patient showed a sudden and unexplainable insulin spike and nearly lost their life. These and other similar incidents kickstarted an investigation, and nearly all of them linked back to the same man, 43-year-old Charles Cullen. The incidents weren't the exact same, but they all shared Charles as the common factor. In each case, the patient either mysteriously died or their condition became a lot worse
You gotta
after
go to
Charles
jail,
spent the
bro.
shift
It's
with them.
crazy.
This didn't make much sense at first, Charles had been a nurse for over 16 years and had a spotless record so far. However, the deeper investigators looked, the more suspicious his actions became. They found records of him requesting digoxin from the digital medicine dispensing machine and then canceling the request right after. But while the record never showed him taking the medicine out, doses of digoxin were still missing from the machine. There was simply too much circumstantial evidence against Charles for it to all be a massive coincidence.
Why are you killing
Unfortunately,
people,
none
sir?
of this circumstantial evidence was solid enough to guarantee conviction. There was no CCTV footage or any other direct proof of his crimes. The only option now was to get him to confess. Luckily, investigators were able to convince one of his friends, another nurse named Amy Lochran, to wear a wire and coax a confession out of him. This worked better than investigators could have guessed. She invited him to lunch on December 12, 2003, and after some persuasion, got him to admit to intentionally killing his patients. This was enough for officers to arrest him.
That's crazy. And this thing is I'm glad he's arrested, but at the same time, can I just say this? If you know you're guilty of the crime and you getting away with the whole thing, why do niggas feel the need to confess? Like when niggas get guilty for like murder and shit like that, and they get booked into prison, why do they tell their cellmates, yeah, no, I killed him? Why do they like get to their friends and be like, yeah, no, I murdered this person. It was a cool experience, bro. Don't tell nobody though. Like, why do you think that's like the play? Why do you think that's the play? I don't know, bro. That's just weird to me. Every time my camera. All right, we're back.
Him on the spot and bring him in for questioning. He tried to stay quiet at first, but eventually admitted to taking the lives of 29 different patients during his
Damn!
time as a nurse. Though, according to some estimates, this number could be as high as 400. Charles would strategically choose night shifts with fewer prying eyes and opt to take care of victims who were less likely to survive. He would then either enter the code for some other medicine in the same drawer as digoxin, or cancel the request but then shake the machine open to steal the drug. He
Why?
chose digoxin because it messed with the heart's rhythm in high doses, resulting in the victim dying of a natural-looking cause. He also knew that autopsies rarely tested for digoxin, reducing his risk of getting caught even further. However, the most disturbing part of the case is that his crimes were uncovered multiple times over the years. When the hospitals he worked at found out what he was doing, they didn't want to ruin their own reputation by launching a criminal investigation.
Nigga,
so
what?
They simply fired him instead. This allowed him to work at 10 different hospitals and claim the
Nah,
lives
y'all
of
should all go
countless
to jail.
victims.
Y'all
When
should
asked
all go
why
to
he
jail.
did it, Charles claimed that he wanted to relieve people of their suffering, even though most
No.
of his victims were either in stable condition.
I don't care, bro. Let them die peacefully by natural causes, or let them die by whatever they supposed to die by. It's not your say so to kill them. And everybody that was in charge of knowing into the last 10 previous hospitals that knew he was killing people and was like, oh, I don't want bad press. Y'all knew he was murdering people and y'all let him go and apply to other places to murder more. Everyone that was involved in the scheme of knowing should be going to jail with him for at least a couple of years for accessory. That's years for accessory. You literally allowed him to keep doing this, bro. Because if you would have did it the first time y'all recognized it, he'd have been in jail a long time ago, and all these other people didn't have to die. If they were going to die a certain way, they was going to die a certain way. It is not your choice or your whatever you choose to say, let me kill them so they don't feel the pain. You don't know if they would have survived it. That's crazy.
Conditions or died painful deaths because of his actions. Thankfully,
Whatever.
he was caught in 2003. He stood trial in March 2006 and was sentenced to 18 consecutive life sentences, ensuring that he
18?
spends
Oh,
the rest of his life
Your
behind
life
bars.
gone.
The
Your life gone.
2019 escape room incident.
Escape room.
On January 4, 2019, a group of 5 15-year-old girls in Poland got together to celebrate one of their birthdays. They had decided to spend the afternoon at a local escape room. Escape rooms, for those who don't know, are an interactive group activity. The premise is to get locked in.
Now, the thing is, I was recently down in New Orleans, spend time with family, and my sister-in-law told me they had escape rooms down there, and it's a fun experience. And I was thinking, yeah, that would be kind of cool. Let me vlog a escape room, type of deal for the channel. And, it'd be cool. Get a group of family or friends and try to figure stuff out because, I play Resident Evil. I love puzzles type of deal. Oh, you do figure it out, oh, that connects to this room. That's how you open the key to this because that's the Say I play Resident Evil. You know what I'm saying? I understand about the little tricky puzzles. I think that part cool, but after about the whatever I want to see right here, this might put me off escape rooms permanently, and I've never even been to one. Let's just check this out.
In a small themed room, solve a series of puzzles and find the key to escape before the timer runs out. When done correctly, it's a largely harmless activity with virtually no risk of injury. However, not every escape room is set up with safety in mind, which was also the case for the escape room the girls chose for their celebration. It was hosted in an old residential building that was later converted into an escape room business without proper modifications. Mainly, the rooms lacked a proper fire exit. The only way out was through the front door, which was left locked until they solved the puzzle to escape.
What do you mean?
Even the window was boarded up for decoration, making it completely inaccessible. The
Hell
entire
no.
building was also being heated with a gas heater powered by portable cylinders, with the door to the
Why?
escape room located right next to the heater. And while this setup had worked without any issues for dozens of attempts before, the same did not happen on the 4th of January. The girls arrived at the location around 4 p.m. and were locked inside the room not long after. At around 5 p.m., the only employee on duty noticed a whooshing sound coming from the heater. He tried to check for any leaks and fix them before things got out of hand. Unfortunately, as soon as he moved the cylinder, the leaking pipe caught fire and engulfed the entire wall immediately. He tried to reach the girl's door to unlock it, but the fire was already too intense. He suffered severe burns and was forced to retreat, cutting off the only evacuation route and leaving the girls entirely trapped. Inside the room, the teenagers were likely unaware of the danger at first, but soon thick, toxic smoke began seeping through the cracks of the door. The temperature spiked and turned the room into a literal furnace. The girls were confined to a tiny, locked space and were entirely dependent on someone on the outside to let them out. Even if they had a way out, the thick smoke made it impossible to breathe, let alone open their eyes and find their way out. What they could do now was wait to be rescued, while the chance of them experiencing an unimaginable death increased with every second. One of the girls managed to call her father during the chaos, but the only words that came out of her mouth were "Dad, fire," before the line cut off. By the time firefighters extinguished the blaze and forced their way into the room, it was already too late. All 5 teenagers passed away, turning a harmless birthday outing into an unimaginable tragedy.
Are you serious? Nah, I'm never going to the escape room now. The only way I'm going is I'm be like, yo, before I enter this room, y'all have multiple protocols on how to get me out this bitch. You better tell me, you better have multiple ways. You better have a secret door, elevator opening right here. You better have another door right here that's going to lead out the building. You better have another extra door right here. I need at least 5 openings for me to leave. I just think 5 escape room ever again after hearing that shit. Fuck.
Rabies. Few diseases in the world are more terrifying than rabies, mainly because once its symptoms appear, death is almost inevitable. However, that is far from the most disturbing aspect of the virus. The true horror of rabies lies in what it does to the human body before claiming a life. It starts with a bite from a stray dog, a raccoon, or even a minor scratch from a bat.
You ever seen the movie
Then,
Primate?
immediately after entering the body, the rabies virus starts traveling up the nervous system towards the brain. And until it reaches its target, the virus is almost invisible to the body. It doesn't trigger a massive immune response or cause immediate sickness. Even the original bite usually heals without any complications. This lack of immediate symptoms can deceive people into thinking that they're safe. By the time they realize they're infected, they're already too far gone. Because once the virus finally reaches the brain, it begins replicating itself quickly and starts spreading through the nervous system. And that's when the symptoms begin. Even then, it can start off fairly tame with symptoms like a low fever, a headache, and general fatigue, the same signs as the common flu. But before long, the virus begins actively destroying brain tissue, resulting in severe paranoia, confusion, and uncontrollable aggression. Victims become incredibly restless and begin suffering from insomnia and violent outbursts. Then comes the most horrific symptom of the disease, hydrophobia. You see, the virus spreads through saliva, so it increases the production of saliva. And to ensure that this saliva stays in the mouth, it makes the host extremely hydrophobic. It causes severe, agonizing spasms in the throat and larynx. These spasms are so violent that they're triggered by the mere thought, sight, or sound of water. You need water to survive, but the second you try to take a sip or even swallow your own saliva, your throat muscles violently contract, inducing a sensation identical to suffocating. Worst of all, this state of panic and aggression only gets worse as the virus progresses, until the human body can't take it anymore and shuts down completely. Now, modern medicine does have a highly effective vaccine. If you receive a series of shots immediately after a suspected bite, your chances of survival are nearly perfect. But
Okay.
the vaccine only works if administered before the virus reaches your brain. If you wait and even a
Jeez.
single minor symptom appears, the mortality rate jumps to virtually 100%. There is no cure at this point. There is no last-minute medical save, resulting in 70,000
Oh, no.
people falling victim to rabies every year. Because once the first headache starts, you are already dead.
Jesus.
Arby's walk-in freezer death. On the morning
What?
of May 11, 2023,
Hey.
63-year-old
Before we get 63, why you have a 63-year-old woman working at Arby's? That's the first question before we even get into like happens at this. I have a woman. I have this elderly woman at work that she's deathly afraid of coolers and freezers because at her old job, somebody decided to pull a prank on her or something like that, where she went to a freezer and cooler and they locked her in there, and it just like she freaked out like really really bad to the point where like she can't even be in them now without the freezer door being open. So like every time she goes in the freezer door and like the freezer door or cooler door, you know what I'm saying, she like props it open with something, and if it's not propped open, she's not going in that bitch. And I'm like, that's a fair phobia. I'm like, that's a fair phobia getting locked in and freeze to death. But I don't know like what happened to like the previous employee and why they did it to her, but that's fucked up. I want to talk about Arby's because I was about to take a drive out and I was about to like do an Arby's food review because I've been seeing a lot of Arby's food reviews where in like 2026 and just like since like 2025 actually, people been eating Arby's and they're like, Arby's have a bad reputation based off of memes and people just saying shit. You know what I'm saying? You ask one person, yeah, how's the restaurant? They say, oh, that place sucks, don't go there. You've never tried it, so you just automatically say, oh, that sucks. And then someone asks you about the same restaurant, and you be like, oh, no, a person might told me that sucks, don't go there. That's just pretty much what happened to Arby's. Arby's just got a bad rep off of probably one person eating Arby's or just a meme or whatever the case may be. But they have people that's trying Arby's food, like reviewer people, and they say Arby's is pretty good. And I don't know, they just like, the hate is just unwarranted. It's just a meme. I want to go try Arby's. Y'all think I should do that for a video on the channel? Let me know in the comment section below before we finish this video.
Nuyette Lee was opening for an Arby's located in New Iberia, Louisiana. She arrived at the
Damn.
location at around 9 a.m. to prep for business before the 10 a.m. opening. This was a part of her daily routine as the manager and something she had done hundreds of times before. And today was supposed to be no different. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Sometime after arriving at the location, Nuyette went inside the restaurant's massive walk-in freezer to retrieve some ingredients. But when she turned around to walk out, the door slammed shut, leaving her stuck in negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
What?
This was colder than many parts of the Antarctic.
Negative
and
10?
unlike people who live in extremely frigid environments, she wasn't dressed for the cold. It wasn't until 6 hours later that her own son, who also worked at the same restaurant, found her inside the freezer. She was frozen solid on the freezer's floor, curled up into a fetal position. Her hands were bloody from trying to pry her way out for what must have felt like hours before
Oh my
hypothermia set in and
God.
she eventually passed away. A later investigation of the freezer revealed that the emergency latch that's meant to open the door from the inside was broken.
Yeah.
She had also been working as the manager of an Arby's in Houston, Texas for several years, but was assigned to temporary
Arby's got to pay for that. Sue them. Nah, sue Arby's for that. Sue Arby's CEO. Sue the location. There's no way, bro. There's supposed to be fail safes in these places for that kind of stuff. Why has that been broken off? And I know, bro, for sure. I don't know if for sure, but I'm just saying, I know that they probably reported that, bro, to like higher ups saying we need this fixed. The thing don't work. And be like, oh, okay, don't worry about it. We always got employees there, so we can always open it from the outside. I bet she says like that, bro. And they didn't even never look into the district area manager, never looked into that being fixed. That should have never happened to that poor 6-year-old lady. That's crazy to me, bro, to die in that type of way. And I heard about this, and I heard about another like deaths in Arby's. I guess there's a reason why people don't want to eat there, bro, because they hear shit like
at
this.
the Louisiana location in February. So there's a good chance she didn't even know about the malfunctioning latch. These industrial walk-in freezers also have extremely thick walls, so no one could hear her cries for help either, leaving her to die alone in the dark, cold room. Sadly, Nuyette's case is only one of 60 similar cases that happen every year, where people get stuck inside a walk-in freezer, and by the time someone notices, it's already too late. From the moment they become trapped until their final breath, people experience what can only be described as pure torture. It starts with their body quickly losing heat due to the extreme cold temperature. The frigid air makes
Negative
it painful
10?
to breathe, and
What
even
y'all
the
trying to
thin liquid
freeze in
layer
an
on the
Arby's
ice starts
freezer
to
with
freeze.
negative 10
This
degrees?
is followed by hypothermia, during which the body constricts blood vessels, raises the heart rate, and begins to shiver uncontrollably to generate heat. The lack of blood flow to the extremities can also lead to frostbite on fingers and toes, as the cells in those regions begin to die out. Near the final stages of hypothermia, the brain starts to malfunction, causing hallucinations, delirium, and extreme dizziness.
And
By
she was
this
in the
point,
dark
the chances
dealing
of
with all that.
survival are nearly zero, as the person begins to lose their sense of self before eventually passing
Hell
away.
no. Hell no.
The Gollum Cave Incident. On the morning of August 17, 2005, 5 students from Brigham Young University decided to explore a relatively unknown cave on the nearby Y Mountain in Utah. The small cave was called Gollum's Cave, but it also had a second name, as those who knew about it called it the Cave of Death. Confident in their knowledge of the cave's interior and their ability to navigate it, the 5 students decided to visit it
What you
anyway.
mean? They just
Blake
don't know
Donner,
it.
Ariel Singer, Scott McDonald, and Jennifer Galbraith arrived at the cave's entrance.
They just literally said they knew nothing about the cave, and then all of a sudden they were just changing it to with their experience with the cave knowledge. How you have knowledge about a cave you know nothing about
At
cats.
around 4:30 a.m. and made preparations to go in. The 5th friend, Joseph Ferguson, decided at the last second not to join them and stayed outside. The
And that's
others
why you're
started to
alive.
make their way in, one after the other, and just a few minutes later vanished completely into the cave. An important thing to note about Gollum's Cave is that it was only 100 feet, or about 30 meters in length. So the trip to its end and back should have taken 20 to 30 minutes at most. But over an hour had passed, and none of the 4 had returned. Worried about their safety, Joseph dialed 911 and told them about the situation. And it wasn't long before police and rescue officers were there, thinking up the best way
And
to
that's
reach
why
the 4 who
Joseph's
were
safe.
inside. Because the primary section of the Gollum Cave ended with a small water-filled hole, which then led to an air pocket further inside the cave. The tunnel leading to the air pocket was too narrow to turn around, forcing anyone inside to reach the very end before returning, something the rescuers couldn't do with their equipment, like oxygen tanks. So instead of going in and possibly getting stuck, they decided to use an air pump to fill the cave with fresh air while also removing water. This not only supplied those stuck inside with fresh air, but also made the rescue mission much easier. What none of the rescuers knew was that it was already too late. Unfortunately, by the time rescuers reached the entrance to the underwater section, all 4 students were already dead. The question now was how. After removing the remains from the cave, rescuers returned to the air pocket at the very end to test the air quality. As they had feared, oxygen levels were critically low inside the air pocket. They weren't bad enough to prevent the 4 from breathing completely, but it was a big enough difference to impair their reasoning. This also made it difficult to hold their breath while trying to return, causing all 4 to become trapped in the short underwater section and drown before help could arrive.
Damn.
Asiana Airlines Flight 214 disaster. On the 6th of July 2013, Asiana Airlines Flight 214 was set to arrive at the San Francisco International Airport at around 11:30 a.m. The Boeing 777 plane had taken off from the Incheon International Airport near Seoul, South Korea about 10 hours earlier, and other than a 30-minute delay due to weather, the flight had gone exactly as planned. But this would change as they were about to land. As the plane approached the runway, it was 2,000 feet lower than it should have been. By the time the pilots realized their mistake, the plane was already too close to the ground. They tried to course correct at the last second, but that only made things worse. The plane crashed into the seawall, losing its tail and left engine in the process.
God damn,
The main
bro.
body of the plane slid across the runway at extreme speeds before catching fire due to the jet fuel that was now spilling everywhere. Fortunately,
God.
with the crash happening near the airport, rescue workers were able to reach the scene in seconds. Of the 307 people on board, 187 were injured by the impact or the fire, and 3 lost their lives. However, among everyone on that plane, no one suffered a fate more tragic than 16-year-old Ye Mengyan. Ye wasn't wearing her seatbelt when the crash happened, resulting in her getting ejected onto the runway. She
Oh
was
my-
severely injured, but according to the autopsy reports, she was still alive. She had survived such a violent event against all odds. There was a
Oh my
strong
God.
chance of her pulling through and recovering if she had received immediate medical attention. It's unclear if she was conscious at the time, but if she was, seeing rescuers arrive just seconds after the crash would have been a tremendous
Always wear your
relief.
seatbelt, y'all.
However, the very people meant to save her life would end up taking it instead. Not long after the crash, Ye was tragically run over by 2 separate fire trucks as they maneuvered around
crazy.
the wreckage to extinguish the fires. Footage from the incident showed a firefighter directing the trucks away from Ye. Unfortunately, in the chaos of the rescue, no one thought to check her vitals and assumed that she had already passed away.
Damn.
Whoa, stop. There's a body right there, right in front of you.
This led to
They
rescuers
just
ignoring
ran
her
over.
and
That's
focusing on the
crazy.
fire and the other victims. One of the fire trucks also ended up covering her with fire-resistant foam, making her even harder to spot, which
Are you
ultimately
serious?
led to 2 different drivers failing to see her on the ground and running her over, removing any chance she had of surviving the crash.
That's so foul. That's so foul. Alright, y'all. That's the end of that video, man. That was morbid and dark as fuck. Thank you, JJ, for making things very weird, uncomfortable, and just not happy for everyone who just watched this video, bro. I'm joking, bro. Appreciate the recommendations always, man. If y'all always want me to react to something, bro, for whatever reason, let me know in the comment section below, bro. Let me know on my Discord, let me know on TikTok. Hit me up on my social medias, y'all, you know what I'm saying? So we can have conversations, bro. Talk about y'all favorite videos, and I can react to them. Y'all can put me on a brand new show that I never heard about. We can react to the whole thing on the channel. You ever thought about that? You know what I'm saying? Y'all have the power to do that. Y'all just gotta hit me up, bro. Don't be scared. Hit me up in the comment section on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, hit me up on here. You know what I'm saying? We can have a conversation. It's totally cool, bro. That being said, I'm JC. Your Jose Calamar. Until next time, guys. Later.